McMahon. Poor Ed McMahon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Geek Primer Live. It is Tuesday, 9:02 p.m. On the West Coast. I feel really out of focus. It could just be that my eyesight is going. Probably. Welcome to Gone. Yeah, just cut to black. Good evening. Welcome to Film Geek Primer. This week we will be doing our top 5 lists of horror films or films to watch during the Halloween season. So let's, of course, start off with our theme song. So take it away, Shu.
You can see that I came prepared tonight because if I had really worked on this, I would have come up with some maudlin version of that as opposed to the slightly more bouncy than usual version, since we're supposed to be doing a Halloween edition of Film Geek Primer. But you can tell exactly how much I put into the Halloween edition, and then you can see how much my colleague put into the Halloween edition.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, look at that. Somebody pulled out all the stops. Tremendo. How are you, sir?
That's El Terramendo. I gotta have a speaking.
Why didn't you change your?
I just thought of it right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
While I was trying to open
change that. We'll come back to you. Oh, and I don't even have mine up. And let me throw my lower third up there. There I am. Huzzah! Me, Santo, host. And of course, with us tonight is Shu and his couch sidekick, his knee.
Yes.
Who will be joining us for this special evening. Nee, glad to have you back. So glad you're in town. Along with the second guest, Foot, which apparently will make a random appearance as well. And let me see if I go back to him. Nope, not yet. So he's still changing that.
I'm still
and though I would like to point out that Shu did wear a orange jersey, so you did kind of think it out a little bit.
Well, I went a little bit neutral. I didn't know if Warren, who's in mourning right now, was going to join us tonight. So actually, this is relatively neutral. It's more peach. So
right. Okay.
It's not annoying Kansas City Royals blue, nor is it I'm on the bandwagon San Francisco Giants orange. Actually, it's a soccer jersey from Football Club Barcelona. Now, Barcelona's colors also aren't peach. So really, it just was something I grabbed off the rack at Ross for about $7.
That's
Every once in a while, it makes for good wearing. I guess tonight is one of those nights. You could argue, I suppose, that I'm dressed as a soccer player or as a knee.
That's right. That's right. Yes, you and your date are dressed as a soccer player, and the knee, which hits said soccer ball. Thing. Yeah. Yeah, so you got something going on there. And we're going back to El Terramendo.
We can still stall if you want.
No, we got El Terramendo rolling in here.
Oh, sweet.
Hyphenated and everything.
I'm dressed tonight as the only the car fan.
Fan.
So that's what I get up for tonight.
That shirt looks like it's more from Speed Racer than representative of a car. It looks like animated. It looks animated.
It's very cartoony or comic booky looking.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't.
As opposed to ominous.
Yeah.
70s-ish.
And it lacks James Brolin, which to me is really the essence of said car movie.
Well, that's on, like you said earlier, that's on my ass.
That's the tattoo on your butt, right? And also, apparently, isn't the car like one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite movies or something like that?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
It's high on his list. That explains a lot.
He included in the Simpsons, his Simpsons, intro.
You're right, in his Simpsons thing. Speaking of the Simpsons, we have not talked about this yet, T. Their Halloween special was last Sunday, and they had an entire piece dedicated to your favorite filmmaker, Stanley Kubrick.
I posted on Facebook that it made up for the last 3 lousy seasons of The Simpsons.
Wow.
It's good times. It was funny. To include a Barry Lyndon reference,
which was my favorite bit. Yeah.
Pretty spectacular. They included a seafarer, or the Killers or Killer's Kiss reference. That would have been,
Oh, that would have been insane.
Too much time.
Yeah, that would have been crazy had they actually been able to go full bore and do some of his really early stuff, like a mannequin factory, running through a mannequin factory.
Could have easily did that.
Would have easily been, yeah. So they fucked up. So never mind. The episode sucked. The episode totally blew that. So tonight we're going to be doing a top 5 list of horror movies / movies to watch during the Halloween season, just in case some of these don't fall exactly under the horror category. My guess is, I'm going out on a limb here, Shu's going to make this shit up as he goes along. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, based on the preparation I had for the rest of the evening, that would be right on the money.
Yeah,
well
that's
done.
what I figured. That's what I figured. Okay.
That's excellent prognosticating skills right there, Santa.
Good. And my guess is Tremendo possibly has a list of 15 extras to mention.
I spent all day setting up this shit.
Okay.
I'll be waiting. Well,
of course. right.
I had to carve this fucker. It took me all day.
Yeah. Wow. That's again showing his skill set is not in furniture making. But yeah, so okay, we'll see how this goes.
Why? Because we all sit on pumpkins.
Yes.
Real quick, you guys gave me grief for being a Halloween fanatic. I was originally going to wear this thing.
Oh, good Lord. Really? Why didn't you?
It's a torture chamber. I can't see. I can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Your commentary usually does that to us.
Ouch. Although, what I was going to say, I mean, you're definitely not a man who suffers for his art then, is what you're willing to say. It's like, I'll go so far.
I'll try it if you want me to.
No, it's fine. Yes, put it over your other mask, and then we'll really see how you rock out. Are you gonna...
911.
Yeah, this could get dangerous.
Oh, boy.
There you go.
Someone's festive. That's a good look.
Wow.
Kirby.
That's okay. Yeah.
I like that toad of the.
And Tremendo with his superb internet connection already. This just makes it better.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. So he could have 15 of the greatest horror movies ever. He could have prepared this for days upon days upon days.
We're not going to hear shit.
And then we're not going to hear a goddamn thing. Yeah. Pretty much. Oh, I just had an idea for a good movie. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right.
You mean for your list? Okay.
This is the preparation I put into this. All right. Good.
Oh, good. Oh, nice. Hey, well, you brought paper.
Well, no, it was just kind of laying there. It's been laying there since Tremendo and I went for movie posters a little while back. I haven't done anything with it.
So is this wait? Is this going to be your number 5?
This will be number 5.
Okay.
This is something the Beheaded 1000. Okay, it's not very good artwork. Okay. It's out of Asia. I've never actually seen it, but I have a poster for it that's called the. Oh, here, let me behead myself. The Beheaded 1000, and it has bad poster art of 1000 heads.
Oh, heads! I see. Yeah, back in the corner there. I see those. Yeah.
Beheaded.
So I don't know. Can you do me a favor? Can you move the poster down so we can see all the titles?
Yeah, sure.
Just to kind of give us a scroll.
Does that help at all?
Give us a nice scroll there.
Yeah,
all right.
Here we go. Here comes scrolling.
All right. All right. I like
that. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah,
look, there's some chick with gams.
Yeah, on a lotus flower there. Very nice.
Yeah, and a bunch of heads that look like either they are rotting or they are zombies. Just some old Asian dude with a sword. So how can you go wrong? The Beheaded 1000 is one of Shu's top 5. Coming in at number 5.
Yeah.
Halloween must-watches. Every Halloween, I break out this poster and look at it, and that counts as watching something.
I like that choice because it's not something I don't think anybody here else would have thought of, unless it's T's number 1. But that's great. I like that we're giving some variety here.
It's the number 1 thing I'm planning to steal from Shu's apartment next time I'm
there. So larceny is, of course, not condoned on this podcast. Don't.
Larceny just missed my top 5, by the way.
I'm sure it did.
Larceny just took the main stage down the street.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Man,
did.
if you can ever see a sorcery larceny,
double bill.
Holy cow! With Brian Trenchard Smith at the helm.
Yeah.
Now that's a double feature I wouldn't be missing.
Oif. Okay, so Shu's number 5 is sorry, what's the title again, Shu?
The Beheaded 1000, of course.
The Beheaded 1000.
Yeah.
Did we try to find that movie?
I think we might have. The poster was just such a whack job. It's like, okay, I've still got a collection.
You know what? It actually has a pretty cool synopsis. Let me look it up while you guys.
Okay, yeah, we got to find out a little bit more about what this film's about. I'm up for that.
Beheading a bunch of people, I suspect.
At least 1,000. If it hits 995, we will.
Right, it might be a rounded number.
Yeah, yeah. And they need to show that 1,000. This is not a, this is a show don't tell medium.
Correct.
We want to see like massive beheading straight across 100 bodies at a time kind of thing.
Well, it's from '91.
Oh, okay.
The director is Shang Hsing.
Love his work.
It's got Joey Wang.
Okay.
Some Jackie Chan's.
Yep.
Let me see if I can find a synopsis. Not finding a synopsis.
Many people get their heads cut off.
Hold on.
That's not the synopsis.
An executioner beheads his 1,000th criminal.
Okay.
Hence the title. And unleashes a demon army headed by an evil witch called the Blood Lotus.
Hence the chick sitting on the flower.
Or someone I dated in 1994.
Yeah, so...
This was the second to last film the director did before he died in 2009.
Wait, in 2009? So he did one film after this. It must have been a cursed production. Cursed for his career and ultimately, 18 years later.
Are you on the IMDb's there, T?
Yeah.
What's
did a lot of
what's its star rating out of curiosity?
Let's see here.
Well, it's deserving of being a top 5 Halloween classic.
It's got 6.8.
All right. Okay, that's not horrible. That's a
and it's
B plus. No, C.
It's available for purchase from Amazon for $14.99.
All right. So rush right out, because if Shu recommends it off of a poster and nothing he's seen, you know it must be worth it. Sexy. Thank you.
Wow, Santos number 5 is the Sneezer.
The Sneezer. So T, let's go to your number 5. Don't have your list.
Hold on.
Tremendous number 5 is the Forgotten.
The Forgotten, really. This is what happens when you spend all day
carving lanterns of the Jacko variety.
Okay, I'll tell you what then. I'm gonna go.
Ahead. No, you go ahead.
I'll go with my number 5 while you.
I had a little accident. Hold on.
Okay.
Boy, the production value.
Yeah.
I wish we had a drunk guy in a camera.
A small. Yeah, really. This is how it works. We wonder why we never got that far with this show.
Oh boy.
Though it's better than what we did in college. Okay, so my number 5, actually, I'm going Japanese film as well. Where this one had this was, for some odd reason, this became kind of like the odd what the fuck horror movie of du jour, I guess. In around 2007, 2008, it became very kind of popular amongst geek culture for a while. A Japanese film called Houseu. Yeah, which is actually available right now through many sites, 50% off Criterion Blu-ray. But it's a bizarre movie about a girl and her friends going to, I believe it's her aunt's house, to get away from her father, who's marrying a new woman, and she's upset about this. So they all go to grandma's house or aunt's house, and the most bizarre, weird shit starts taking place. And like all of the girls have names, kind of as what their specialty is. Like I forget, I can't even remember what any of their names are, but it's like, the fat girl that's always eating is called Chomps or something like that. They all have like their little nicknames that goes, Fist is the name of the girl that likes to kick ass or something like that.
Not Fat Bo?
No, unfortunately no. But Houseu has some of these incredible. There's a sequence where a girl gets eaten by a piano, but just to say that does not give the weird acid trip sequence of this girl being eaten by a piano its due. It is a fantastically weird, out there movie that is about a girl coming to terms with her father and his new love. or not to terms with it if once you get to the ending. But it has crazy hallucinatory animation, practical effects, lightning stuff, all kinds of weird things all the way through it. It's a tight, like 87, 88 minutes, and it's just a blast. Scary, not really. A lot of fun, definitely. So yeah, Hausu is well worth checking out. And I've heard that I can't. Obayashi, I think, is the filmmaker's name. And he's got a couple more out there that are apparently just as batshit crazy, if not more so. And I haven't had the chance to see those yet. So hopefully in the near future, or at some point in time, I'll order that and figure out how to track those down. So T, is everything okay there?
Yeah, everything's fine. We're good.
All right, great. So let's go on with let's hit your number 5.
Well, I might as well, enter my Asian horror film too. I'm gonna go with that though to Kwaidan, and that's from 71, I think. And Kwaidan means ghost stories in Japanese, and it's 4 ghost stories, a lot of elements of which you see in J horror. I think there's a long-haired black woman tale in one of the 4 stories. So they're all taken from Japanese folk tales. Yeah. A book written by a guy named Hearn, who was a Greek or European novelist who traveled a lot. He was he pretty much wrote about the places he lived in, and so wrote some stories about the Japanese folklore, and they were made into this film by, I forget the director's name.
It's Kobayashi, isn't it?
Kobayashi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really what you'd expect. Slow at times, the austere Japanese style, classic style, long takes, things don't happen, but it's got this, like, each story has its own, like, doomed atmosphere or moody atmosphere, so they get the ghostly stuff down really well. And they're basically morality tales, but very uniquely Japanese, with the Japanese cultural reference. So really well made, really creepy. But if you're not used to Japanese movies, it's not J horror. It's not quick cuts and blood and eyes and all that crap. It's just a artistic ghost film.
Yeah, it really is a movie that relies a lot on atmosphere and some great storytelling. It's got actually the story. One of the story that's best known, I think, from it is the one with the. It does have the story of the princess jumping off and her courtesans committing suicide off the ship, and that's why all the crabs have the samurai ghost faces.
Oh yeah. It's got the faces in the cup.
Yeah.
The writer sees the face. Oh shit, that's.
Yeah, it's got, but the most famous one was something that John Milius used kind of a chunk of for Conan the Barbarian, with the storyteller the blind storyteller who the ghosts of another samurai clan keep taking him away to tell stories to their shogun, and when this priest finds out about it, he's like, oh god, they're going to kill him on the final night when he finishes this book, these tales. Mm-hmm. So they do this whole thing where they paint symbols all over his body. So when the ghosts come to get him, he'll be invisible to them. And of course, they forget to paint his ears, the symbols on his ears. So nastiness happens. Yeah. So a little bad thing happens to the poor blind storyteller guy. Kobe. That's a really, really good one. And the beauty of it is because it's like, I think it's 4 or 5.
It's 4 stories, right?
4 stories, yeah. It's like, and they're only 25 minutes, 30 minutes each.
I don't remember. Was the last one contemporary? Was it more contemporary setting?
I don't think so. I thought all of them. were.
I remember one of them was contemporary.
Yeah, one of them was the guys in the snow who were freezing to death, and Death is the woman, the storm woman.
Right.
If I remember correctly. And then I can't remember what the 4th one is.
First one is the guy who leaves his wife because he wants to move up in stature and financial status.
It's kind of the Ugetsu story, right?
Yeah, and he comes back and wackiness ensues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's a good one. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff in that one.
Is that on Criterion?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and I can't remember if it's out on Criterion Blu-ray yet. I believe it is, but it is available Criterion DVD.
That's a gift. Get it.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I do own, and that's well worth. I haven't watched in a while, actually. That's a good idea. I'll have to yank that out. All sorts of good options so far. So we've traveled from the east. Will we travel somewhere else next? Let's find out. Shu, what's the next title you're going to make up?
Well, sometimes horror isn't so much what you watch, but what you experience. And what you experience then has a lot to do with planting the imprint of horror, perhaps for the rest of your days.
Okay.
I will give you a personal example of this. During my illustrious radio career, as part of moving up the ladder of this fine, storied, well-preserved, certainly a business with all kinds of future, I spent 3 years in the beautiful community of Kingman, Arizona. Kingman, Arizona is about 100 miles from Las Vegas. It's basically a stopover, or a Highway 93 connects with Interstate 40. It's sort of a hub toward Route 66.
Where Sam Kinison died?
It's very close to that, yes. It's also about as close to hell as I ever want to get.
Okay.
And
this is a man coming from Tucson.
Passing, fortunately, at a movie theater in Kingman, and I would go to a lot of movie theaters. And that means that I didn't see particularly good stuff. This also happened at that point in time where you're influenced, you're just discovering what art is, and this is the point in time where you consider what you heard, in your early 20s. That's the best album that was ever made. That's the best movie you ever saw. That's the greatest TV show. It's all that kind of stuff, and it's that point in time where everything kind of sticks with you. Okay.
Right.
So I saw what I considered two of the worst films ever. Okay. And as a result of that, they're kind of tied on my list for number 4 for Halloween because of the horrors that they present to me and the memories that they bring up.
Okay.
One of those is Cop and a Half with Werewolves and Liza Minnelli. And the other in the tie is the Bobcat Goldthwait talking horse movie.
Oh my God!
Which is so bad that I can't even remember the title of it right. Hot to Trot, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it Hot to Trot?
Yeah.
Okay. I consider those, and I've seen the Turkish Star Wars, which is more like the Turkish Star Trek. I've seen Iranian films. I've seen Filipino movies. I've seen Canadian cinema. I've seen Mexican cinema. I've seen Michael Bay films. Okay.
So basically, the thing is, you've seen Fire and you've seen Rain.
But I consider Cop and a Half and Hot to Trot the 2 worst movies in the history of cinema.
Wow.
And as a result, they belong on the list, tied for number 4 in any horror movie or Halloween time period list, and that is where they fall in.
Shu, that's cool that you link that to a very dark time in your life.
Yeah.
Also, it's very intriguing.
Now that's an inside joke that I may never get into in public, but fortunately, something didn't get into me either.
Wow. Okay, Kingman, stay away from it. Stay away from Cop and a Half, and stay away from Hot to Trot.
Stay away from the drive-in.
All apologies to our Kingman viewers, but we know you're not there because you don't even have the internet.
If only they did, then I might not have had to watch Hot to Trot and Cop and a Half.
Oh, wait, they're on AOL, so keyword.
Stupid ass CompuServe. The Kingman CompuServe is a pretty big deal.
Oh, poor Kingman. I drove through Kingman a couple weeks ago. There was nothing there. Okay, so I'm going to go. So my number 4, I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to bring us back to the horror somewhat. Although I do truly appreciate the horror that is those 2 movies in your life show. I like that peek into your existence. Todd Browning's Freaks is my number 4. Why? Because it's an awesome movie. It was Now I can't remember if it was banned anywhere. I must have been. I'm sure in some countries, if they banned Island of Lost Souls, you know they must have banned Freaks somewhere, because of course Freaks uses genuine circus freaks for most of its cast. But what Browning does, and this was of course Browning's big confabulous fraptraction movie. This was kind of a big dream project for him after he made Dracula, which was a massive hit. He could do whatever he wanted, so he then turned and MGM wanted to make films in the Universal horror mold, so they said make whatever you want. He returned with the movie Freaks, and basically destroyed his career. And Freaks was a movie that forever I was unable to see, and I feel like I finally saw it as a pirated copy from somewhere. And it's a fantastic film because, of course, what it does is the Freaks actually, you could pretty much say, is not about. The Freaks label is about the normal humans and not the freaks in the film, who are very much humanized and turned into full-blown real human beings, while it's the norms who are the actual monsters of the film. And it's got like Johnny Eck, who's the Human Torso. It's got King Randy, who had like no arms, no legs, and so you get to watch him roll a cigarette with just his nose, which is pretty fascinating. It's got pinheads. It's got dwarves. It's got a bearded lady. It has your classic Siamese twins, of course. It's got your kind of classic all-American freaks in it. Those who are kind of disappearing from the landscape in a weird way. Even if you're watching the American Horror Story freaks today, almost all of those characters are CGI created, etc. But yeah, so Freaks is a blast. It's a great movie. It's a really, really good film. It had a very different ending, apparently, which sounds like it was a just horrific thing to have witnessed. Would have been to have witnessed. Shame that no longer exists. But yeah, Freaks, if you get the chance. Again, I think it's only about 80 minutes or so. Great film. The final sequence that takes place in the rain is pretty nightmarish, and so that's where I'm going with my number 4.
You know, I couldn't watch that for a long time, and I don't know why. And I guess in the back of my mind, I thought it was exploitive.
Okay, yeah, that's fair, and it could have been.
Yeah, just its reputation, and I caught a clip of the ending in the rain, like you said, and that just freaks me out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could probably. I'll give it a shot. I do want to see it.
You've actually never seen it? Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Never seen the whole thing. No.
Yeah, give it a watch. It treads that line. It's really smart in the way where it could easily have turned into an exploitation film, and in a weird way it is, because of course you get to sit there and go, oh my God, how does that person even how does that person live or survive or do whatever else? But it does such a great job of, I don't want to say building the characters per se as much as just letting you see these people in their lives and kind of get that they're folks just like anybody else. That by humanizing them and all like that, it pulls it away from exploitation, makes us kind of look at ourselves and kind of how shitty we are as people for judging folks. So T, you're number 4.
Well, I'm going to go with another anthology movie, more recent. It's Trick or Treat.
Okay.
And it's directed by Michael Dougherty. He is I believe, a big-time screenwriter. I think he did some work on the X-Men, the original X-Men trilogy, some Transformers stuff. Here he pretty much, I don't know why he hasn't made another movie, because this is actually a pretty decent flick. It's like 4 stories set in contemporary Halloween time. You could tell this guy is really into Halloween, so it's something I could relate to. You got a story about you got your God, I'm not remembering. You got a werewolf story with a twist. Every one of the stories are very recognizable.
Yep.
Manages to do a twist on that very familiar story. So it's really, I think when we were talking last week about films you should probably, It Happened, or It's a Wonderful Life, the films that are associated with holidays that you should probably watch every year if you're into it. This is probably one of them. I think if you're really into the holiday, because captures everything about it, every element about it, from trick or treating to ghosts and the spirit world and all that, genre stuff, and does a really good job with it. So it's about 2 hours, I think, but it's a really decent film, really well made, and it's like I said, it at times it seems familiar, but there's enough twists and he plays around with the style a little. The little guy who's like the mascot of the film, I think, is an homage to the trilogy of Terror Doll, and he's just as iconic in a kind of horror subculture kind of way. He hasn't exploded into the Freddy Krueger or Jason stratosphere, but he's popular amongst the people who are into horror. So it's a really good film, and that's my essential Hollywood pick.
Nice, excellent choice. Yes, as a matter of fact, that may be popping up later on these lists. We'll find out. Spoilers. Shu, what?
Almost certainly not on my list because that one involves some thought.
Right.
And as we've already established, two of us came prepared today, and one of us didn't. Guess which one? Number 3, I think might as well opt for some sort of Italian zombie flick, not one of those annoying, modern zombie flicks that has CGI blood. I want, fake body parts strewn out and ripped apart, and massive, copious amounts of gore along the way, and perhaps terrible acting to get there, but maybe some cool soundtrack along the way. I don't know. Is Cannibal Holocaust acceptable?
Oh,
Is that
totally.
acceptable number 3 in that, general realm? It has many of those components. You could probably come up with some better ideas, but I'll go with that for number 3 because I want as little CGI as I possibly can if I'm in the mood for some quality fake gore.
It's not fake. A lot of it. They kill animals, and it's one of those really unsettling. Can't watch more than once movies, or you can't recommend someone watch it more than once. I think it's an excellent choice.
So, how many times have you seen it, Gabe? T.
I think I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times.
Okay. I was about to say because I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times as well, maybe 5. I even own it. I actually. Back in the day, with each new friend I met, including you guys, I had to watch it with you guys. And it's almost a litmus test of can you withstand, this kind of stuff. Yeah, it really is. It really is, and it's kind of the proto Blair Witch Project in a way because it's that same concept. It's kind of split in half, though. But the second half of it is about once they get the film back of what took place and it's been put together, and then they're like, let's take a look and see what happened. And so then you get the kind of documentary destruction and death of our missing characters, our 3 missing characters who went into the jungles. But yeah, it's a great movie. I know that's Deodato, Ricciardo Deodato. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Ruggiero.
Yeah. He was put on trial for it, and then he had to.
He thought that woman was impaled. The impaled woman was like a real body.
And so they had to
bring. There was photos of her smiling and laughing and stuff, and
right.
They had horribly impaled.
Yeah, and they had to bring like the fake one into the trial and everything else like that to prove that he had done nothing wrong, which is the sign of a great fucking film. I mean, here's a guy, if you can convince people that all this shit, and it feels real. Nothing about the film feels false in an odd way. Especially after the weird turtle slaying and some of the other animals you see get mutilated, which is, we can't condone, but at the same time, it definitely adds to the shit. It proves that, the white man going into the jungle are just a bunch of dicks and deserve what they get. But yeah, Shu, excellent choice. And a thumbs up from the Shu. Okay, I'm going to go, my number 3 is old school haunted house movie. Robert Wise, The Haunting. I saw this for the first time about 4 years ago. I had never seen it before, so the first time I actually got to see it was projected on a screen. It has, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, T, or not, but there are shots in there that inspired Kubrick's The Shining. I feel there are some amazingly asymmetrical shots down hallways and things like that made me go, okay, this is definitely something that helped inspire The Shining. It's an incredibly atmospheric and creepy movie, and it's very much the type of movie that it's all about the stuff that goes bump in the night. It's the things you can't see just out of the frame that make it really scary. And Julie Harris, who plays the lead, is really great in it. Russ Tamblyn has a bizarre little role. I'm sorry, I meant the Jan de Bont remake of The Haunting. A great movie. But yeah, if you really want to see, and actually, I'll tell you what's beautiful about The Haunting is really to watch the Jan de Bont to watch the original and then watch the Jan de Bont remake. It really shows you why horror movies work or don't work. Because the de Bont one is all about showing you shit, which makes no sense because the original film is not about that whatsoever. Because it's about, is she going nuts? Are what we hearing and seeing real, or is this actually just in their minds? And it's a wonderful film, a beautifully constructed film. Probably, I would say it's Robert Wise's best, maybe. I mean, he's got a couple noir flicks in there that are very solid as well. But I think The Haunting is really kind of him firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think from a technical level and just artistic level, it's his best.
Mm-hmm. So The Haunting. So I've been going for a lot of older stuff recently, but that happens. So my number 3 is The Haunting, available on all sorts of platforms everywhere. So give that sucker a look. T, number 3.
I have 2 remakes on this list, and they happen to be 2 of the best remakes just in general when we're talking about remakes in general. And these are the originals are 2 that I would watch, as a kid, teen years, and even in college, would be an annual viewing on Halloween. And the first one is Dawn of the Dead, the Dawn of the Dead remake, Zack Snyder's remake.
Really?
Yeah, which I really dig. It's got a really good script by James Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy, amongst some other genre stuff like Slither and Super. I think he's a solid filmmaker, and he had to start in the Trauma, studios, or what's his face. Yeah. And I like Dawn of the Dead. The opening scene, the opening sequence that leads all the way to the mall demonstrates that Zack Snyder at once was a complete filmmaker. That he had potential. I'm not saying he doesn't have potential, or he's a bad filmmaker, but he's gone into blockbuster land and he's kind of gotten lost in these big movies. And I think if he had just stuck to smaller films, maybe his skill would have been honed a little better. I think it's still scary. I like fast zombies. I think they're scarier than slow zombies. Slow zombie movies are more atmospheric and convey more feelings of dread, but fast zombies just get your blood pumping and you just get, it's just anything. When you're being chased by anything that's fast, especially a guy like me who can't run 10 feet without passing out, it's just a good film. It's a solid film.
Nice, fascinating. Okay, that surprises me. I would have thought you would have put the original Romero one on the list.
I think it's kind of like a no-brainer. I would have put Exorcist on the list. I would have put Halloween on the list, but I think those are just just no-brainers.
Right.
So I'll put the remake up here.
That's fair. I rewatched a couple movies, kind of prepping this list in an odd way. That and it's just the Halloween season. But I rewatched the original Halloween, and there's one scene that I still have big issues with, and that's when she's in the closet. And he's trying to get in the closet and I've discovered that this is because the same thing happened with me in the Raid 2. There's something that I can't, that is a real a pet peeve is sort of what I'll say, but it's when you know that the lock on the door is completely flimsy and you could easily get in there, but for some reason it's just like shaking. He's so Jamie Lee Curtis is down in the closet and Michael's shaking the closet door trying to get it open, but you can completely see that closet door would probably fly apart on a single tug, and then he punches through the little rafter things on them instead, the slats on them instead to get in, which is a great bit, but it's like they just hold too long on the tension of that thing, and I'm like, come on, man, that door is just fly open by now. That's a no-brainer there, but. Yeah, which was a weird one, but Halloween's still the great classic. The other one I watched was rewatched was the Blair Witch Project. which I don't want to say it's scary, but it's so interesting to see how much of that really is the
foundation
the
for
DNA, of all of like every other film since. It's like you can't. Yeah, it's like watching that, like, oh wow, they use that and such and such. They use this,
right.
and to some extent, it's still the best because of it being all about, again, stuff that's off the screen, stuff that's taking place around you that you don't know about, and the acting in it is actually quite natural in a weird way because it's improvised. There's not a lot of like standout dialogue or anything that that makes you go. That feels written, I guess, as much as it's people stumbling through stuff and trying to say what they're feeling or what's going on with them, and they can't communicate what it is they're trying to say. So yeah, I was kind of surprised actually how, in an odd way, there's something about the original Blair Witch is actually a really solid piece of filmmaking. Anyways, so Dawn of the Dead remake, eh? Okay, go for it. No, I agree. I'll give you the first half of that movie. I really like the first half of that film, and then I kind of felt that it kind of fell off. But I can see where you're coming from. Maybe it's just my animosity towards Zack Snyder that's bugging
it. Made a face.
I got a list of 15 movies, maybe 50, that we could talk about, and I just narrowed it down to the ones we could probably, get some banner going between the three of us.
Of course, yeah. No.
Okay, come on. If you're gonna put something on the list, stick with it. Don't try to justify it. Don't try to back out. I love this.
Pop it in as soon as we're done here.
I don't care if Snyder was the director. It's the best goddamn film of it. Something. Give us some Halloween passion. You went to the trouble of carving a jack-o'-lantern. You went to the trouble of putting out a quilt that looks like you got it from Oregon State University. You even have a jack-o'-lantern mask, and now you've made the effort. Don't back out now. Don't back out now, Tremendo. Stick to your guns.
Zack Snyder is the Stan Kubrick of our time.
Wow.
For standing out.
Okay, wow. That will be a quote that we definitely pull out and ridicule you for the remainder of existence.
Yeah, that's going on the that's going on the gravestone. It'll be Here lies El Tremendo. Zack Snyder was the Stan Kubrick of his time.
They'll never live that one down.
It's downright possible that what Tremendo just said is my number 2 Halloween movie of all time.
That was pretty nightmarish, actually. Sorry, T, you mentioned, what was the movie that you said was the greatest film of all time?
On our old show, many, many, many years ago, I said The Mask was brilliant.
The Mask was brilliant.
Yes.
The Mask was brilliant. Brilliant was the phrase. Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are going to be some tremendo gems when the tombstone gets. It's going to be a really big tombstone.
It'll be large. It'll be a cathedral just with all of your musings.
And I just hope that Mark Calloway is on hand to be able to present it appropriately.
So, sorry. So, Shu, other than Tremendo's fantastic proclamations, what would your number 2 be?
Vocal opus.
Yeah.
Opus. I think I'm gonna go with a Hitchcock film, but given the preparation that I put into this, I'm not exactly sure which one. Do I want to go with Psycho? Do I want to go with Strangers on a Train? Do I want to go with Frantic? Do I want to not go with Hitchcock and opt for Basic Instinct?
You go with your heart. Go with what your heart tells you.
That's right. Follow your heart, Shu.
Boy, Showgirls. There you go. Yeah. If I can get Esterhaus and Verhoeven in something, that's horror enough for me. And sure, okay, put Hitchcock on the back burner. Sure, he was a master of psychology and thrills in that regard, and that should be a good thing that is sometimes, I think, overlooked this time of year because it's the horror that we imagine sometimes as opposed to the horror that we actually see. But no, let's go with Showgirls as number 2.
So fascinating. I like that choice. Now, here's what I'm curious about. Why do you think Showgirls has gained a cult status level of respectability, like actual genuine film love versus ironic film love?
It's not. It's ironic film love. It's not genuine film love. There's no genuine film love in Showgirls. No, it's absolutely ironic film love. However, it's actually made well. It's directed well, and it moves quickly. And while everything in it is utterly ridiculous and over the top, there's something oddly appealing. It's a well-made cult film. I don't think it's ever going to get beyond cult film status. I don't think anybody. I really can't imagine that somebody unironically is going to say, other than Esterhaus, is going to say, man, I really missed the boat on Showgirls. I think that's a fantastic representation of what the materialism of Americana or some BS like that.
Right.
To Verhoeven's credits, which he does a lot of times, a well-made film. It moves really well. It's got, for as long as it is, it's got great pacing and actually has some memorable scenes.
Yeah.
So whereas a lot of cult films have memorable scenes and there's a kitsch factor, but part of that kitsch factor is that they have issues in terms of the execution. Execution isn't the issue with Showgirls from Verhoeven's standpoint.
Right.
Actually, you watch it, you can tell this guy knows what the hell he's doing. And I think that aspect of it plays a fairly major role in the rest of the bizarro element that film actually is.
So playing off of your theory from last week when we were discussing Steven Spielberg's 1941, is this Verhoeven's 1941? Is this like his beautifully well-made film of excess?
Man, well, everything Verhoeven did was excess. So
That's true. That's a very good point.
I think you could argue that Starship Troopers was another in that category. I actually like Starship Troopers. Not that I don't like Showgirls. But Verhoeven defined 80s excess, I think, in his own way. I think there's a separate definition, I think, between the two here, because the guys who, Spielberg is an example, and some of the other directors who were kind of in the cocaine era, the cocaine egomaniac era of Hollywood, seemed to have one film and then it destroyed their career. Verhoeven seemed to come along at a time where he actually capitalized on that kind of craziness and was able to build upon that with each movie that followed until it got to a point where it eventually ran its course. So you could argue that a half dozen Verhoeven films are movies of excess.
Right.
And therefore it's more difficult to pick out one film that falls under that category, whereas it's easier to say that 1941 is Spielberg's excess failure.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So I wanted to be serious there for a moment, and then I got completely sidetracked, and I'm glad I did, because Showgirls is an excellent number 2.
Yeah, Showgirls is an excellent number 2. I think that falls well into the and it fits well into the why are women wearing nothing but slutty costumes nowadays?
That's a damn good question.
That's a good segue.
Not sure why. I'm not complaining about it entirely, but at the same time, it's kind of like, what's the deal? Especially like slutty cornstalk. Doesn't make any sense. Slutty candy corn as well. There's like a whole corn series because it's Halloween. I don't get it. Anyways, my number. What was that?
The problem of pornography.
Yeah, pornography. It's all pornographic. It's all pornographic.
It's a gateway vegetable.
Yeah. Yeah. Next thing you know, asparagus is all up and about.
Asparagus.
Asparagus. Asparagus. Okay. My number 2 is this is a movie actually that has a personal thing for me because it was definitely a movie that scared me a lot when I was a kid. Scared the shit out of me when I first saw it as a kid. It had a transformation sequence that was just nightmarish, and you could feel the pain, and it creeped me out. As did, even though, and it's odd because I was 10 when it came out, 9 or 10 when it came out, and I didn't get the humor. It's that concept of being able to mesh horror and comedy didn't click in a 10-year-old's mind, or at least in my 10-year-old mind. If it was supposed to be scary, if something was scary in it, the movie was scary. End of story. There was nothing else, and it wasn't until years later when I rewatched that I was like, oh my god, it's a comedy as well. And that movie, of course, is An American Werewolf in London, the John Landis, which I think is, for me, is the quintessential werewolf movie. It plays off all the great tropes of a werewolf film, but has Rick Baker's brilliant design for the transformation sequence. It's got Jenny Agutter in it, who's always a cutie.
Yeah.
It's got Griffin Dunn as the dead buddy who keeps popping back up throughout the film and is slowly decomposing every time he shows himself to David Naughton. And it's great. It's got a fantastic soundtrack with every version of Blue Moon Under the Sun in it. And it's just it is a I don't know if you can say that John Landis has a voice per se, but I feel he does. I feel that John Landis, and it's only because I think he hit some of the biggest comedies of the 80s that you can say, that makes you kind of think of 80s comedy in a weird way that would make a person ponder that maybe his voice is generic, but I don't think so. I think he has a very wicked, not macabre, but very sharp sense of humor that really kind of knows how to cut. And American Werewolf in London is just, he also wrote it, he directed it, and that to me is kind of him at the peak of his powers. And I can't remember, the Thriller video came out after it, right?
Yes.
Okay, the Thriller video came out it's because of American Werewolf in London that Michael Jackson wanted him to make the Thriller video. Got it.
I think Landis is like, he's the perfect filmmaker who's part historian, part fan, and part artist.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like you said, I don't think he has much to say, but he knows the history of film. He's a fan, and he can craft a good film based on that knowledge.
Yeah, well, he's a really good storyteller. I mean, he knows how to hit the beats and how to deliver stuff. I like even Burke and Hare, which
and he knows the appropriate homage. He doesn't saturate with homage.
Yeah, and Burke and Hare, which is available streaming on Netflix, is not a horrible film. It's kind of got some slower spots. But then Innocent Blood, which he made like in 91, 92, something like that, is a really kind of underrated, neat little vampire movie that again hits that special thing of horror and comedy and really is able to follow through on a lot of stuff. And that's one not a lot of people talk about, which is kind of a bummer.
I think his most underrated is Into the Night.
Oh, Into the Night is great.
It's kind of like The Man Who Knew Too Much, kind of a little Hitchcockian in a way.
Yeah.
He's just kind of walks into this situation.
Yeah, it's a little Hitchcockian meets After Hours.
And it's violent. I mean, there's scenes where it's brutally violent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good one. That's one to catch.
Yeah, and then he like makes you laugh at the violence in an odd way, but you shouldn't be, and it kind of makes you question yourself in an odd way. I don't know. He does some really interesting stuff in
those fucking Nazi werewolves, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God damn you this day.
Yeah. That shit takes you for a surprise. That's for fucking
With
sure.
Machine guns.
Yeah. Well, they're Nazis. I mean, what are they good? What they're gonna have, like, little tridents or something? No, they're gonna have Uzis, and they're just gonna blow the entire family away. And it's great because that dream sequence comes out of nowhere. Like it falls right at that perfect place where it's like, oh, of course he'd be home by now. But yeah, so it's a great bit. So American Werewolf in London, fantastic film, really holds up, I feel.
Amazing. Yeah.
And that's gonna be my number 2. So T, give it to us.
My number 2 is the second remake on my list. The original I'd watch every Halloween night as a teen, and they actually play it on network TV. They played on network TV for a couple of years, and it's Night of the Living Dead. So it's a 1990 remake with that Tom Savini directed. Savini collaborated with Romero on Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead as an effects guy. He's kind of like he's the god of practical gore effects. I think, to my knowledge, it's the only movie he's ever directed, and I think it's a really solid homage to the original. Of course, they've updated more gore. There's a twist on who the hero is in the film. They do a clever twist on that. It's got Tony Todd and from Candyman fame as the black guy, and it's solid. There's a lot of yelling and shouting, which the original has a lot, and yeah, I think it's a really solid remake and unique in and of itself. So it's both an homage and unique to itself. So yeah, that's definitely one of my recommendations.
Wow. Shu, did you think he was going to go with The Thing?
Yes, I did.
Okay, just making sure that I was the only one that was not out of the loop on
That's
this
another
one.
brainer,
No, no, and I was pissed off because then he was going to usurp me, and
I thought
that's
she
number
was going
one.
to talk. I thought she was going to talk about it.
And you were right.
He may very well, yeah. So,
that's the easiest prediction of the bunch.
Shu, have you seen the remake of Night of the Living Dead?
Yes.
I have not. What did you think about it? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was all right. I thought it was pretty. I think a lot of them. I think a lot of the remakes do a pretty solid job, and I think the ones that Tremendo has pulled out live up to it. Would I put them on a top 5? Not when Showgirls and fucking Cop and a Half is on that list, but
right.
They don't crack that. But yeah, I think those. Yeah, I think they're well done.
Interesting. So, how does that? Where does that? I mean, how do I ask this? I'm curious because I not having seen it, I'm curious. Like, did you like it the first time you saw it? Was it something that took a little bit of time to grow on you?
I think I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and I didn't like it
because it bombed, right? It didn't make. I feel
absolutely.
Like
yeah.
Okay.
It bombed, but I didn't care for it because I thought it's kind of hard to explain. In Day of the Dead, which is another really underrated film, and it's only watching it all these years that it's actually pretty damn great.
Right.
It's something that grows on you. And
right.
When I first saw it in the theater, I thought, man, these guys are just shouting with each other. Get on with the zombies already. and I didn't realize at the time that he was actually referencing the first film, where there's a lot of shouting and yelling and confusion and terror going around, and so that kind of offset my first viewing of it. But watching it again, over the years, and I watch it. I try to watch it like at least once a year. The effects are pretty damn great. I like the twist. You get the Barbara character is not this zombie-like, a vision of herself that just goes comatose of fear. She actually, transforms over the course of the movie, as does Tony Todd, as the lead. It doesn't have the same social message that the first one did, or that impact years later. I think it's a very solid zombie film, and it's a good homage to the original. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to give it a watch someday.
Keep expectations low, and you'll be surprised.
Right. That's the only way to be surprised.
If you want something to be number 2 on any list, that's usually the criteria.
That's right. So that's your number 2. Are we off to number 1 now? We're off to number 1.
We are.
Got it. Sweet. Let's get to it. Shu.
John Carpenter's The Thing. Go ahead, Santa.
Okay. Fair enough. It's a great movie. You can't knock it. Can't knock it. Did you see the 2011 not remake?
Oh yes, I did. Oh yes, I did.
And
you'll notice that it's not on this list.
No.
Now it might have been dangerously close, depending on how influenced or how perturbed I was by the concept that someone would actually think about doing this. It's an origin story.
Right. Yeah.
That's important to note, because that carries a lot of weight and gives it, a great deal of validity.
Yeah.
They use CGI effects.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
No.
That's already not. No. Now, it could be on a list, even though it's not going to usurp Cop and a Half and the Talking Horse film. That Hot to Trot. It's not going to crack that, but it could. It's a fairly forgettable, disappointing remake. It's in the Straw Dogs category of cheap. Why the hell did you bother to license this name, and why did you do what you did for it? It's not the worst thing in the world, but you kind of wonder what was the point.
Right, yeah. Fair enough. So the thing.
We had a conversation a while back about perfect films. We had a very short list of films that we felt were perfect, and I think The Thing definitely belongs on that list.
I'd have a hard time arguing that. It is. It played at the drive-in when I was living in Prescott, which is a community only slightly cooler than Kingman. And when and on its week run, it's one of the few movies that I went out of my way to watch, to kind of go overboard to watch it as often as I possibly could. So I intentionally saw The Thing, I think, every night that it was at the drive-in that first week.
Wow.
And have enjoyed it on repeated viewings any opportunity where it pops up, and have never been disappointed by it. I think it holds up fantastically. I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's not a movie that made a lot of money, but in terms of, I think it's regarded positively for many of the right reasons, and it absolutely delivers on all counts.
Oh, completely, yeah. And actually, they even showed it at the ArcLight just last weekend, I believe, at midnight during their Halloween Horror Weeks. But yeah, The Thing is in regular rotation in theaters around here. I mean, it's got to play probably twice a year, I'd say.
There are two films, and I don't know why. I don't know what mood I was in, or what the situation was, or how I was thinking. But there are two films like that. Two films that when I saw it the first time, I immediately wanted to watch it again, and then I wanted to watch it a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time, and so on and so forth. The Thing and John Woo's The Killer.
Interesting, yeah.
And those just are those are almost the sacrilegious. If you say something bad about those films, they're one of the few that I'll get offended by it.
Right.
So, but yeah, The Thing happens to be on that very short list, and will always hold a dear place. So
we should have a Sacred Cows episode.
On a list like this, where you talk about number ones around Halloween, as far as I'm concerned, if The Thing is at the top of the list, every day can be Halloween.
Fair enough. Sorry, what did you say, T?
We should have a Sacred Cows episode. Our films that we will defend to the death.
Yeah, that's fair. I would totally be down with that one, actually. So really quickly, what were some of these other, because T, you'd mentioned you guys are making a little list of perfect films. What were a couple of these other perfect films?
I think we said Wild Bunch.
Yeah, okay.
Rambo the First Blood, as a perfect, action film.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any other shoe? I don't remember.
Once Upon a Time in the West, I would throw on that list.
Yeah.
I would probably throw Peckinpah's director's cut of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid in that list. Showgirls.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Hot to Trot 2.
Yeah.
The Trotting.
The Trotting. Yeah. Trotter Hotter. Hotter Trotter. It's about that time. It's about a girl horse. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to revisit that discussion. I think those are the ones that come off the top of my head.
You know what? That would be. Yeah, I was going to say, instead of Sacred Cows would be interesting, but I do like the idea of saying what you consider a perfect film, and then have other people tear holes in it to see why. Because I think with Pat Garrett, it's interesting. I adore Pat Garrett, but I think even with the director's cut, I think there are some flaws with that film.
I think Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
You would be wrong, but okay, let's go with that.
Exactly, yeah.
I think Good, Bad, and the Ugly, yet when they came out with the director's cut or extended cut, there were some things that were just bad.
See, and I agree with you. I think the director's cut, it's interesting. It's like the director's cut is one of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly that they didn't need the stuff that they put in there. And I don't know if it's because they had the weird Lee Van Cleef voice guy doing his voice or what the deal was, but...
Well, there's that scene at the fountain that I still don't get.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know if it's a perfect film, but I'd probably throw a couple of the other woos on there.
Right.
To me, Close Encounters.
Bullet in the Head and Hard Boiled would be there, and certainly John Woo's Close Encounters of the Third Kind would be, highly regarded.
Yeah. Yeah, well, John Woo's Close Encounters of the Third Kind is...
Shut the fuck out of that alien.
I wish more people would see it, especially when the aliens come out and they're double-barreling it at people. You would not expect that from his remake.
I really don't see that coming.
I do not see that coming, no.
And then somehow doves fly into space.
Yeah.
That's in slow-mo. That's seriously good stuff. You guys are aware that I have not seen Close Encounters, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're well aware of that.
That's we may have to sit down.
Are you going to cut me off now?
No, you know what's interesting? That's fascinating, actually. That's one that had I thought about it, I would have brought it with me when I didn't even know I'd be there. But next time we'll have to bring it or something and watch it. I'd be very curious to see how you feel about it when it's over. Especially after we did 1941, I would be very curious to see what you think about Close Encounters.
Yeah.
So my number one we've already discussed is Trick or Treat. And I'm making it my number one, not because it's the greatest horror film of all times, but it's the actual movie that since it came out, that's the movie that I have actually watched every Halloween since. Because yeah, it's a fun one. It's the anthology. I like the anthology angle of it. I like the way that it treats Halloween. It takes you back to feeling what it was like when you would go trick or treating. I guess it has that same atmosphere to it. It nails that for some reason for me. And I like all the stories in it. I think all the stories are really cool. I appreciate the twists, like T had mentioned earlier. Also, I like that this was a film for some reason that they wouldn't release it. It was Universal that put it out, and they just weren't releasing the film. So the only way it was shown was at a couple horror festivals and stuff like that. And that was
had the big names in it.
It's got Anna Paquin. It's got Brian Cox. It's got
the guy from Happiness, whose name I always forget.
The guy from Happiness, who we always forget, who was also in Ishtar.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of folks kind of floating in and out of it. It's a lot of fun, and it's got some good jump scares in it. It's got some good creepy stuff in it, but more than anything else, it wants to be entertaining, and it hits that on every level. And it's just a fun. I mean, it really is like if aliens were to come and say, "What's Halloween?" What does Halloween mean? You show them that movie, and it's like it has that feel of the holiday. And it's like even though they're like, "Oh, so all this shit is going down and they're werewolves." They're like, no, that's just the feel of it. That's how it's supposed to be. And girls in slutty costumes. It's weird. I don't know when the fuck that started up. Anyways, so T, let's hear your number one.
Well, I'm not sure if either one of you've seen this movie.
Here we go.
I saw it a couple of years ago, and I've seen it about once a year. I saw it today since, and it's a little film called Satan's Little Helper.
Because if Satan had a big helper, he'd just give him away.
He'd stick to hamburger.
Okay, wait. This is legit, or are you fucking with me?
Oh no, it's Satan's Little Helper.
Okay.
It's about a kid who's obsessed with this video game called Satan's Little Helper, where you help Satan beat up people or do mischief. And he's obsessed with Halloween. He's a nerdy little kid. He dresses up like the devil for Halloween, and he's all excited about Halloween. And he runs into this guy who's dressed up in a devil costume, and he's decorating his yard with what appears to be corpses. And when he gets all excited, oh Satan! Ooh, Satan's here! And he thinks Satan's real. And that he and Satan are going to go trick or treating. And the guy's actually laying out real bodies of the people he's killed in the house onto the lawn as kind of like Halloween props. So he goes around the neighborhood with this guy, kind of helping him, do his serial killing. So he becomes Satan's Little Helper.
That sounds fantastic.
And it's actually it's a comedy. It's not that gory or bloody or anything. It's kind of funny. The guy who plays the Satan guy is hysterical. He's just yucking it up in the costume on killing people. And everyone's pretty good in it. It's very low budget. In 2004, it's got a very 90s direct-to-video feel. It was probably direct-to-video.
Probably.
But yeah, I never heard of it until I got a recommendation from someone. But it's set during Halloween, and to a lesser extent, it does the same Trick or Treat does.
Gotcha.
It still has that kind of Halloween feel, night of spookiness, and it's definitely not it's definitely not like family friendly horror. There's nudity and there's some blood and gore and stuff, but not anything too bad. It's really funny. It's really dark, and that's something I would recommend anybody watching at least once a year at Halloween.
Wow, that again.
And it's on Netflix, so if you want to check it out.
It's streaming on Netflix? It's
streaming on Netflix.
Fantastic.
It's a solid little horror flick.
Okay.
And it's got a sense of humor, and this is interesting. It was written and directed by the guy who wrote Blue Sunshine.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's the last thing he did. I think there's a credit on IMDb that he has. It sounds like it's something he's been working on for a long time.
Right.
It's in production from whatever.
Right.
So yeah, and it's the most recent feature that he's done since.
From wait, so he wrote and directed, or just
He wrote and directed it.
He wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
From the
produced
from the
some
maker of Blue Sunshine comes Satan's Little Helper.
And Blue Sunshine is what the LSD movie, the LSD horror movie.
Yeah, with oh my God, Red Shoe Diaries guy.
Zelman King.
Zelman King, thank you. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's how we're ending this.
Okay.
Satan's Little Helper. That's where we're going now.
What a fine Halloween list of greatness.
Yeah, you know what? I think we have we've been all over the map. I think we've kind of suggested old films, new films, foreign films. We've kind of classics, not so classics. Satan's Little Helper, remakes. Yeah, I mean we have run the gamut of monster movies, haunted house movies.
Can I throw in a honorable mention?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Just one. The Uninvited.
Oh, really? With
Ray Milland.
The Uninvited has one of my favorite lines in it of all time, which is the maid knocks on the door and says, "It's the lamb, sir. It's gone awkward." Oh no, it's turned awkward. The lamb's turned. Because it's I asked British friends if that meant anything. They had no fucking clue what I was asking. But the lamb's turned awkward. It's because it's the maid. There's the chef. She's cooked lamb for dinner, but the lamb's turned awkward. I loved that line, and I have used it. I have a friend who every so often I will think of that line and just email, just no message, just in the subject matter, the lamb's turned awkward, and she always responds with a chuckle.
It's gonna be like your spy catchphrase.
Yeah, it's highly possible. Yeah, I walk up wearing the red corsage. The lamb, she's turned awkward, and then they slip me the secret papers, and off I go. The Uninvited is not bad. The Uninvited is actually very much in that same the haunting kind of realm.
Yeah, and it's a decade earlier?
Something like that, yeah.
It's pretty old. And it's got some good chills. It's got some good little scares. Mm-hmm. It's got really effective ghost effects. And it's a nice little mystery, too, as well.
Yep. Agreed, yeah. It's the other one I had on my list that I was debating was possibly, and I don't know if this falls under Halloween or horror film as much, but Quatermass in the Pit was something that I was pondering for a little bit.
Oh.
And then the other one was the Changeling, the Angelina Jolie movie. No, the George C. Scott film. The George C. Scott haunted house movie by Peter Medak.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie. So, Shu, anything you didn't think, any titles you want to throw out?
Any other Bobcat Goldthwait movies?
Yeah, I think you guys have done an excellent job covering all the other potential ones.
Right.
That certainly would have been on my list.
Good. Yeah. Well, we're glad you supplied us with the outside the box list, and that's why I like you.
And that's the only reason.
That's it. That's it. That's the only reason I have you around. I like how you say that as if you're blackmailing me with something. That's the only reason.
It's intriguing blackmail.
Yeah. So, anyways, folks, that is it for Film Geek Primer. We're going to be off for a little bit because we've got things going on. Life is taking over for a lot of us for a while, so we're going to see what else is going on.
Extended holiday hiatus?
Yes, an extended holiday hiatus. And we'll see what happens at the new year, or maybe before. Who knows? We could be back next week for all we know.
In the interim, have a good holiday. I hope things go well, and if we're reconvening in 2015, fantastic.
That's right. Yes, fingers crossed. So, T, where can people find you?
At El Tremendo on Twitter.
That is the Terramendo.
Tremendo.
Shoo.
Crossfingers at Shuniverse.com. No, Shuniverse will be just fine.
Okay, Shuniverse. And of course, you can find me at John Santo. And that's it, folks. Have yourself a lovely Halloween and holiday season. And taking us out with our final, our theme song, Shusha, give it to us. And that's it, folks. Have yourself a pleasant Halloween. We will